All right, everybody, you're listening to the NKO Sports Podcast. This is the first one we're doing. I'm your host, Sleazy, joined by Flynn, and he is not your average Flynn from Breaking Bad. So, for those of you that get Breaking Bad.
I haven't watched it yet, so I'll get that here whenever I watch it.
You will. Walter's son is named Flynn, and he makes a big deal in the show. He wants to be called Flynn and not Walter Jr.
Ah, okay.
So, yeah, it's pretty funny.
It's a good name.
Yeah, it's definitely up there. Okay, so we're going to open the show up today with Super Bowl. The Super Bowl last Sunday, obviously. Was it the worst Super Bowl ever, John?
I think based on our expectations, it probably was up there. I think, it being billed as one of the best Super Bowls, being that it was the best defense versus the best offense, the best in the AFC versus the best in the NFC. I think it really just it didn't live up to expectations whatsoever. It was a dreadful, dreadful game.
It truly is a testament that defense wins championships, and the high-powered offense that Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos had this year just didn't stand a chance against what was perceivably the best defense, this year.
Yeah, I think that definitely the defense of Seattle really just put it to them. It wasn't close. It was dreadful. And the Peyton Manning did not have a good showing at all.
I want to say after the first quarter we had kind of tuned out and we're just kind of talking and chit chatting about other things and more excited to see what the commercials had to offer at that point in time.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
But what a debacle for Peyton Manning. The guy must be heartbroken right now. How old's Peyton Manning? He's closing in on his late 30s.
Yeah, I think he's around 38.
Yeah, the odds of him getting back to the Super Bowl are very, very low right now.
Yeah, to be fair to him, I think that his offensive line problems, I think that their best lineman went down early in the season, if not preseason, if I remember correctly. They were shorthanded there, but still they had the best offense in the NFL last year. But I think maybe it's a testament to the division they play in. I think looking at Seattle having to play San Francisco twice, having to play St. Louis and even Arizona out there. That's a tough division now. And Denver, their division wasn't as strong. I think it definitely showed during the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Well, we'll move on to the other side of the team, other side of the Super Bowl, the Seattle Seahawks. And Pete Carroll has now joined the elite rankings of NFL coaches. And, he's part of that Belichick disciples and, But, what do you think? Do you think he deserves it? Or, is he a good coach? Or do you still think of him as the scumbag from USC?
Well, I think, as a Buckeye fan, I think we'll always think of him as that. But I think that, he does have that distinction of, I think there's only two other coaches that have ever won a national championship as a college coach and a Super Bowl as a professional coach, as in Jimmy Johnson and Barry Switzer, I believe, were the other two that did it. So he joins that small fraternity of coaches that have won on both levels. Clearly Seattle had a good. Their roster is unbelievable. Their defense is incredible. Their offense is even really good. And I know they've got a lot of salary cap problems coming up here with all their players. I think they've got 19 guys that they have to get signed, that are going to be up for re-signing here coming up this this offseason now, and so they're going to really have to redo their entire team on both sides of the ball. They're going to have to decide where they're going to put their money because there's only so much to go around, and I think that that secondary was just absolutely crazy, and having those guys, they're going to have to pay those guys, and they all need to get signed, so they're going to have to decide where they're going to put that money.
Yeah, what really stood out for me though in the Super Bowl was Percy Harvins. He's finally healthy. And what's he do? He took the game over literally in the first quarter.
Absolutely. That's people talked about that. They said that this is he was going to be the X factor. And you always kind of heard that for Seattle this year, but he just was never healthy all year and never got a chance to showcase that.
Right.
But finally, that dialogue came to fruition when they, Percy Harvin's always that X factor, and that's what they paid him the money for. That's why they traded for him. That's what they were expecting, and he definitely delivered. And he along with that, that defense, he was that gut punch to the Broncos that really took him out of it.
Right. I mean, as a Buckeye fan, you see that, and you had flashbacks to the national championship, and Troy Smith was the quarterback, and Urban Meyer was the coach of Florida.
Yep. And
Percy Harvins just destroyed us in that game. We couldn't stop him. Every time he touched the ball, it was like 50 yards down the field. And I mean, that's just what it was. I mean, when he's healthy, he's dominant. I mean, for a flex player, he takes the game over.
Yeah, and I think that's what everybody's been waiting for, that player to come to Ohio State and take on that role, and hopefully this year we'll see it.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see. I know Urban's been busy on the recruiting trail.
Yeah, got a good class coming in.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move on to the NFL draft. What's the exact date for that, Flynn?
The draft is Thursday, May 8th. They do that the first round at night.
Prime time. They moved to prime time, right?
Yep, and then the next two rounds will be the next 2 days on the weekend for Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, it's going to be good. The Combine's February, coming up here in a couple weeks on February 22nd through the 25th. That'll be, put all the players on their pedestals and do all their measurements for that. And then, the draft is in May. They pushed it back because they want to kind of extend that they want to have more, it's already the number one sport in America, and they want to have more exposure for NFL, make it a truly year-round sport.
Yeah. So
they pushed it back to May this year. It was usually in April.
Yeah, so, I mean, I guess you'll have something to look forward to in May as far as football goes.
Yeah, so, I mean, just taking a look here at the NFL.com, just a couple days ago, they posted their very first mock draft. They've got Houston taking Teddy Bridgewater from Louisville, and then St. Louis gets the pick second from Washington because they traded when they got RG3. They have them taking Jake Matthews, the tackle from A&M. And then your Jacksonville Jaguars, it looks like they have them taking Jadeveon Clowney from South Carolina. He was dominant, last college football season, and then just past one, he was not as much. He had a little injury, but how do you feel about that their pick there?
The problem I see with the Jaguars is offense, and it starts with the offensive line, and they traded what's his face last year? Is it Eugene?
Eugene Monroe,
our first round pick from a couple years ago,
yep.
Who was a good offensive lineman. But, I mean, the problem is Chad Henne isn't going to get you to the playoffs, as a Dolphins fan.
Yep.
And we know as Buckeye fans that Chad Henne just sucks in the big games. I've never seen an NFL quarterback throw so many picks before. And, I mean, he'll move the team up the field, and then he'll just be one stupid play after another once they get across the 50, and eventually it's just a pick six. I mean, the only other quarterback that I could think that comes close when it comes to throwing picks, would be Carson Palmer, but at least he throws touchdown passes, and you're going to score with Carson Palmer behind center.
Did you see Eli Manning this year?
Yeah, Eli Manning, he did have an off year, but, I mean, the Giants are just devastated with injuries all over the place, and poor Eli, I mean. But Eli has 2 Super Bowls to his credit and multiple playoff appearances.
Yes.
How many playoff appearances does Chad Henne have? I think 0. I mean, when the Dolphins made it to the playoffs, they had what was it, Chad Pennington?
Yeah.
Yes, that's right, Chad Pennington.
So if you think the offense, who'd you rather the Jaguars take? Who you looking at?
Honestly, the quarterback position needs to be addressed. I think they're fine at wide receiver, but honestly, I think the first quarterback that's going to go in this draft is Johnny Manziel. And I'm almost certain that I think the Cleveland Browns will trade up and try to get him early because they're really high on that guy, and they think he could be the face of their franchise for the future. But, I mean, at this point, I think that mock draft is pretty accurate with Jacksonville getting Jadeveon Clowney. I mean, I think it's going to fall right to him because the Browns will trade up, and you'll have somebody else that might want to get in there. Obviously, the Rams don't need him. Houston probably doesn't need him. I mean, their defensive line is ridiculous. I mean, Houston just had an off year. I think they're still a pretty good team. They're going to come back and have a good year as long as they get their quarterback position squared away, which they might, draft Teddy Bridgewater first. So.
Yeah, that's who NFL.com has taken. And I think, and they have Browns not trading up. They pick at 4, and they haven't taken Manziel there at 4.
Yeah,
so.
See, I've got the list up with like 4 different riders.
Okay.
And on one thing they've got a outside linebacker Anthony Barr being drafted from UCLA to the Jags, but I really think that. The Rams are going to pick them up either an offensive tackle or a wide receivers, which I'm seeing on here. So, but I mean, this draft really isn't that loaded with primetime players that can play right in the NFL right away.
Yeah, well, I think that we saw, as Buckeye fans, there's a couple guys in the top 10 that we saw up close and personal this year, like Khalil Mack, the linebacker from Buffalo.
Yeah,
he tore it up when they played the Buckeyes, and they have on this. Mock, they have the Buccaneers taking him, and then also Sammy Watkins. The Buckeyes know full well from the bowl game how good he is. They have the Raiders taking him at number 5.
That guy, Sammy Watkins is probably one of the few wide receivers in this draft that's going to come in, start day one, and he's going to have. What's the guy from the Bengals name? I'm having a brain freeze.
AJ Green.
AJ Green. He's going to have the AJ Green effect where he's catching long balls for touchdowns every week, and I mean he's just going to be phenomenal. And
he's big too. Watkins is a big guy.
Watch out if he goes with Sam Bradford, to the St. Louis Rams. I mean that's going to be a pairing for years to come to watch.
Well, I think Bradford's up. His contract's up.
Yeah,
they have to decide because if they have him, on this mock draft, have him taking a tackle. So
I think they like Sam Bradford.
Yeah,
but the problem is, like you just mentioned, the tackle issue. The dude gets clobbered every year, and he obviously isn't used to getting hit like that because at Oklahoma they have nice offensive linemen that protect him.
Yeah,
but. One thing's for sure. Like we said, Sammy Watkins is going to be a dominant player, and he's a great wide receiver for any team to pick up, regardless of who the quarterback is. You can throw it up to that dude, and he's going to snatch it up and, create yards after contact.
Yeah, I think, looking ahead here, I think, my Dolphins pick at 19, and they have them mocked to take Cyrus Quandajo from the tackle from Alabama. I know that our offensive line was a mess this year. I think that I believe in Tannehill. I think that he's going to be a good quarterback for a while. I think that I think that's a good pick. I know that they produce lots of talent there, a lot of tackle talent. I think that'd be a good pick. It sucks that our line got decimated this year with the with that whole incognito Jonathan Martin craziness.
Oh, that was a hot mess, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I think that losing them really hurt us. I think that it'll be a good pick. I'd be happy with that pick. I think we've got our receivers played good this year. It'll be good, interesting. I draft's one of my favorite events every year. We get together every year and watch the draft, and I really hope that they do that and solidify that line.
Wouldn't you like to be a fly on the wall? And what's your guys' coach's name? Joe Philbin.
Joe Philbin, yeah.
I'd love to be a fly on the office his. On the wall of his office, and just listen to, how many F-bombs did that guy drop every time, Incognito's name was mentioned or this was mentioned, That's just an embarrassment for that franchise, if you ask me.
It's been a mess. It's been all the way they've handled things hasn't been probably the best. Like the owner, Stephen Ross, has been, he doesn't really kind of go by normal logic a lot of times. He'll go and do what he thinks is right, and sometimes it's strange. But hopefully they get it straight. They've got a new GM now. They've got a new offensive coordinator. So we'll see what happens this year.
By the way, do we have any Buckeyes projected to go in the first round?
I think Hyde was projected to go in the first round.
I think Hyde's going to be phenomenal at the next level. He has all the makings to be a great NFL running back.
Yeah.
Bradley Roby. Yeah, one has him going to the Chargers, which would be a perfect fit for Bradley Roby. But we'll see. I personally, I don't think Bradley Roby's ready. I mean, he got burned in that Orange Bowl all day. It was ridiculous. But I mean, he makes good plays. He's going to be a good special teams player, if anything, at the next level. If he can't cut it as a starter, but I really thought he should have stayed another year at Ohio State and worked on not getting burned down the field like he's not supposed to.
Yeah, our secondary got torched this year.
Yeah. Okay, well, we touched on that. The NFL draft, the mock draft, who we were excited for. Let's go ahead and move on to the 2014 Winter Olympics in Sochi, Russia. So, what do you think? You think it's going to be safe there? Or, I mean, what was your thoughts on the opening ceremonies?
Yeah, it's I feel for the guy that was in charge of their little Olympic rings display there. I know that they had a little malfunction, and I know.
How would you like to have a meeting with the president of Russia, who is declared one of the most psychotic men in the world?
Yeah, I think that'd be a rough time. That whole mess is crazy, and just the whole construction thing where stuff's not finished, and they've got
there isn't doors on hotel rooms, and flooring hasn't been put in. I heard, and
it's a mess. I don't.
And this is the most expensive Winter Olympics ever.
$50-some billion.
Or is this the most expensive Olympics? Period.
I mean, I don't know how much countries normally spend to get ready for Olympics, but I think this is north of $50 billion they've spent so far.
It's crazy insane. Because even in the Summer Olympics, you heard China was having all these issues. I mean, mainly with their pollution. I mean, they're obviously second to us. I mean, one of the most dirtiest countries when it comes to polluting the air. And they were shooting fireworks to have breathable air for their athletes. But I mean, Russia, I mean, I had heard a story where they were spending millions of dollars on snow. And, I mean, you think Russia, you think snow because, I mean, all the movies you see, and I mean, Russia is always a snow-covered country.
Yep.
But, I mean, wow, you've got to buy snow to, you get the Olympics ready. I mean, I thought the Olympic Committee would plan that out better to where they'd have it in a country where they didn't necessarily have to spend millions of dollars on snow. I can see some stuff, but I don't know. I mean, it's probably just not the best place, even though every country deserves to have an opportunity to host. But
hopefully all the athletes and everybody involved is safe over there. Hopefully we can, after all this is over, all the worrying is kind of for naught. But it just sounds like a mess. It just sounds like a disaster over there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think that the president would send our athletes into harm's way. I mean, they probably had 1,000 people doing reports on the safety and scouting the area, and I mean, I honestly think they evaluated the risk, and the risk wasn't obviously that high for them to it was safe. They could go in there, and the athletes could compete and have a wonderful experience and come home safely, obviously. But I mean, that dude, man, the president of Russia, he's crazy, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. But it looks like as of this time now, it's at 4:30 on Sunday, the 9th, and right now, as far as medals go, Norway, they're leading with 7 total medals. They've got 2 golds, a silver, and 4 bronze. Our U.S. boys, boys and girls, they're here in third right now overall.
Good.
With 4, they've got 2 golds and 2 bronze. I know that it's always I prefer the Winter Olympics over the Summer Olympics. I know probably it's more common people like the Summer Olympics more, but I like a lot of the Olympic sports.
I think here in America, why people are so high on the Summer Olympics is obviously because I mean the Dream Team back in the 90s with Jordan, Bird, and all those guys, and that really escalated the popularity of the Summer Olympics. But I mean, when I think of Olympics, I think of the USA men's team. Was it from the 70s or 80s? And they didn't get gold, but they beat the Russians. They made a movie out of it.
Oh, the Miracle Team.
Yeah, the Miracle Team.
1980. Yeah, the 1980 Olympics.
Yeah, when I think of Winter Olympics, I always think of, there's two things that come to mind when I think of the Winter Olympics. And the first one is always that, the 1980 men's hockey team where they took the Russians on, and they didn't get gold, but, it was still a great year for them. They had an accomplishment, taking on the Russians. And then the other thing...
Soviets then.
Yeah.
Russia, yeah.
The other thing is... obviously, women's figure skating from the 90s. Nancy Kerrigan, I mean,
yeah,
you think
Tanya Harding mess, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Tanya Harding still says she doesn't do it. She didn't do it.
Oh, she's such a liar. I mean, come on. Yeah, was it her boyfriend at the time that did it, or a guy she was seeing?
Yeah, I guess she paid someone.
I missed the 30 for 30 on it, but I would be more than happy to watch her live for an hour. So.
Yeah.
But what would we before we started the show today? We were seeing we were watching men's speed skating.
Yeah,
and the Russians they said the Russians had just fallen short for the third time today or something like that.
Okay.
Boy, wouldn't you hate to be those athletes to face that president?
Yeah, I think that's one thing. I know Putin's really focusing on the hockey team. I think he has really high expectations for the Russian hockey team. I know personally, as a Jackets fan, we've got 4 guys on the Russian team, including our star goaltender in Bobrovsky, and Nikitin and Nisimov, and Tutin they're all on the team, and I'd hate I almost I root for America and everything, but I don't want to see anything happen to those guys. So I wouldn't be upset if the Russian took gold. So Putin spares their lives.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. You definitely want those guys to return to Columbus, because the Blue Jackets are actually doing somewhat good this year. I mean, go ahead and talk. You are the biggest Blue Jackets fan I know. I mean, obviously anybody that knows me knows I'm not a huge hockey fan, but I do enjoy going to a game once a year with you, and I have a Blue Jackets hoodie just for that occasion. But I'm not the biggest hockey fan. But I always say, John, why are you watching the hockey game every other night of the week? But go ahead and tell everybody what's going on this year with the Blue Jackets.
Yeah, they're having a great season so far. They got off to probably a rougher start than they would like to. They're just Bobrovsky's well informed now after his injury. The team has just been playing great. They had a road trip. They got 3 points out of a possible 6 on this little California road trip. They just got finished up on Friday night.
Okay.
I'm excited for this season. They're playing well. Anybody that a fan of Jackets knows how they finished last season. They went on this incredible run, and they end up tying with the Wild for the last spot for the playoffs. And via tiebreaker, they lost, and they didn't make the playoffs by just they had the same record. They just lost on the tiebreaker. And now it seems like they got that form back. They're a very, very tough team to play against. It's gonna be really, and we're not even at a full team yet. There's Gabrick's still working on. He's got a collarbone issue, and he's been out for a while, and he should be good to go when we come and play the Devils. When we go to New Jersey to play Devils on the 27th. So it's a long break. Get Gabrick healthy, get everybody healthy, and then the trade deadline's right around the corner. I think the Jackets will definitely be buyers.
Is RJ Umberger still playing? Or?
Yeah, he's definitely. I mean, he's kind of settled into his role as a guy who's not afraid to get in the dirty areas in front of the goalie, and he gets a lot of tough goals. I mean, I think he's probably still on pace for another 20-goal season. And he's tough. He's a tough guy. He gets in there and he scores a lot of goals. That's what he does. And you need those guys to get out there and really sacrifice themselves to make those hard goals. So I think he's an Ohio State boy. So I think we'd like to see him do well.
It's nice to see the Blue Jackets in this spot, because I'll tell you, every once in a while I'll tune into the Artie Lang show, and every once in a while they'll have that conversation about hockey, and we're just the laughing stock of the NHL. I mean, everybody rips on the Columbus Blue Jackets, and it's nice to see us finally have something other than soccer, that's successful in the pro sports area that we actually have. I mean, obviously we have the Columbus Clippers, but I mean that's not MLB. I mean, I mean, that's just minor league baseball, and they've gotten us a couple championships since they joining up with the Indians. But by the way, I just wanted to point out, how did we forget to mention Ryan Shazier? He's going to be a first-round pick in the draft.
Potentially,
yeah. Well, I mean, they got him in this mock draft. I'm looking at 18th to the Jets.
Okay.
And I could see him falling somewhere in the middle of the draft.
Yeah,
especially, if he goes to the combines and does pretty decent, which he will. He's a physical specimen.
Yeah, I think, the mock I looked at didn't have any of the Buckeyes going in the first round. So that'd be disappointing, but there are definitely those three guys are right there for it.
Yeah, it could go either way, obviously, but he is first round potential, and I was kind of shocked when I saw this on the thing when you were talking about hockey, and I couldn't believe we forgot about Ryan Shazier, because that was the big thing. Is he staying? Is he going? Yeah. And of course he left, and we're just like, oh God, how are we going to get back to that national championship level? But then, I had to remind myself, Urban Meyer has the keys to the bus at Ohio State. And Urban Meyer will be in a national championship level of play every other year when he reloads with his recruiting.
Well, yeah, they got that 5-star recruit, Raekwon McMillan, and he looks like a monster, and I think he'll step right in. I think he'll probably start right away as a true freshman.
Yeah,
and it'll be good. They got some good linebackers.
Yeah, well, definitely. That was the big thing this year, was defense.
Yep. So,
and
let's say, speaking of Buckeyes, we got the basketball team.
Correct.
They're had a little not as good a season as they'd like to have. They had some games in there they lost. That Iowa game at home what really hurt. Michigan State. They had no business even being in that game when they did. But they came all the way back and took that game to overtime, and that was an incredible game. And we got them coming back to Columbus to play the last game of the regular season. So that'll be good.
The thing I find funny about Michigan State, they don't seem like they're that powerful of a team, but they play good defense, and they score when they need to score, and they're always there at the end of the game, and they win.
Yeah, there's no doubt that their defense is what carries them.
Yeah.
We're definitely missing shooters this year. Their shooting has been horrendous. Not having, this team needs a Diebler on it. We had a Diebler on this team, it'd be incredible. But and their down low play really needs to step up too. I think Amir Williams has been.
He's a disappointment. We can say it.
Yeah, I think he needs to step it up. But every once in a while, when something gets hot, that's it's really important for this team. They need to kind of. Hopefully they're having a hot hand. I think Lenzel just last night when they played Purdue, they beat Purdue 67-49, and Lenzel, that was his 100th game as a Buckeye, and he had 4 of 7 threes.
Yeah.
And
he was pumped.
So and if we can get that, sometimes it could be a craft. Sometimes he shoots a little bit, but he's really just not a good shooter.
I watched the second half of the game with my father. And a shocker there. I'm doing something with my dad, but I mentioned to my dad. I said, Aaron Kraft. I mean, he's not a good shooter. We know that, but the dude can drive the basketball, and I mean, when he drives the basketball, that opens up opportunities for the shooters that we do have.
Yep.
Smith Jr. and what's Ross, LaQuinton Ross.
Yeah, he's been disappointing too.
He needs to step up. I'm sorry, but dude, you are sucking the court up this year. You are supposed to be the dominant player that we're relying on. I mean, when I saw that dude hit that game-winning 3 last year in the tournament, I mean, I was like, yeah, this dude, he's going to grow. He's going to be something special.
He was supposed to fill in for Deshaun Thomas.
Yeah,
he was that same type of player.
Jeez, I mean, he is nowhere near the level of Deshaun Thomas. I mean, I hate to say it, but man, if we would have got him back, we'd be Final Four competition right now instead of instead of what's the other tournament that they go to?
The NIT.
Yeah, we're like NIT competition.
Yeah,
I mean, it's sad we could go to the NIT and win it because we're that good of a team, even on a bad day for NIT competition. But as far as them making the tournament right now, I just don't see it. I mean, they're 25th in the country right now, and they might move up after that win last night.
They'll have some chances to make some marquee wins. They got they've got one game against Michigan this year. They've got Michigan State coming back. There are a lot, and the Big Ten's good, so they've got some time to make it up. And I don't think they'll have a chance of missing the tournament. I think unless they just lose all of the games, but. If they play well and they have to get a couple signature wins, like beating Michigan State, I think would do it for them. Doing well in the Big Ten tournament would really do them well. They've got they definitely have the talent. It's that motto. He'll never have a talentless team. It's just about getting their shooters right and getting like Della Valle. He's shown some good flashes. Mark Loving.
By the way, that Della Valle dude, he is the fuggliest dude I've ever seen in basketball. And if he ever happens to listen to this, which I doubt he ever will, but I mean, no offense, but man, he is just painful to look at. I mean, that's when I go to check my messages when they zoom in on him. Like I don't want to look at this dude. Take him off the TV.
I don't think you could say no offense and then tell someone they're fugly.
Yeah, well, he is. He knows he's an ugly dude, probably. Just like I don't consider myself to be an attractive guy, but. Jeez, man, they need to get that dude off. CBS should have a no Della Valle rule, like when he's shooting free throws, only show his behind, like his head and upper shoulder.
I'm sure he still gets the pick of the litter at Ohio State, though.
Oh, yeah. Those girls go nuts for him. Well, he's probably some goofy dude that the chicks love. And, obviously he plays basketball and he gets good minutes for Thad. So, I mean, he's probably a rock star down there. I remember one year we went to a basketball game, probably the last time we went to an OSU game.
Yeah.
They were just crushing Purdue, I think it was. And there was this guy that never played a minute. And, I mean, all these girls were cheering for him, and he finally got on the court, and he was a freaking rock star. And one thing I remember is he went to go shoot a three, and, I mean, it was a bad miss. But, I mean, everybody in the place went nuts. They just wanted to see this dude hit a shot.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's the beautiful thing about sports, You always have your underdogs that you root for, and you want to see get out there and actually get some good action.
Yep. So I think, hopefully they close out the season well. They get an attorney, and I don't see them. It's hard to see them, making any kind of run in the tournament. Like, I think their ceiling's probably Sweet 16. I think that's probably the highest they'll be able to go. But if they can do that, I guess they'd have to consider that a victory with the way they played this year.
Here's the problem with this team: they don't have rhythm. Yeah. And basketball is a game of rhythm.
Absolutely.
And there are little schools out there that would terrorize the Buckeyes right now. They would light them up with three-pointers all day long, and the Buckeyes wouldn't be able to catch up with them. And even if they do make it to the tournament, let's just say they make it and they get up against a hot shooting team, they are going to get demolished if they can't hold them. Even though I will say this, they are. I heard they were one of the better teams at defending the three-pointer in the country. So, I mean, that is a high hope when you think about it like that.
Yep. But
the inside game has to improve. Amir Williams, if Amir can't get it done, they need to look elsewhere, I think.
Yeah.
But, my God, do we need a shooter in there right now? Just somebody to hit a three every once in a while.
No doubt.
Which is supposed to be Linzel Smith Jr.'s job. And, I mean, the thing I find about him, he's either hot or he's really effing cold.
Yeah.
Like, he will not, if he's not hitting a shot, he's not going to hit one the rest of the night.
Yeah.
But.
So as we wrap up our first show here, Pitchers and Catchers report in 4 days, Eric.
I know, that's such an awesome feeling. That means the snow is right around the corner from going away.
We hope so. Yeah. I think we got rolling in. I know I was excited, for baseball. I'm a big Braves fan. We got Freddie Freeman locked up for like 8 years now.
Yeah.
As a cornerstone at first. I think that we got Jason Hayward. They decided they only want 2 years on him, and I think we've got one arbitration guy left out there, and the best closer in the game, and Craig Kimbrell. Hopefully they get him signed. I'd like to see something long term, but I'm imagining it'll probably be something like a 1 year deal. It looks like they're in arbitration now, so it'll be it'll be decided by an arbitrator, obviously.
Yeah.
But I was hoping they can avoid that. But I'm really looking forward to it. How about your Indians? What are you looking forward to in the Indians this year?
Well, I mean, as an Indians fan, what do you say other than hopefully we get a winning season? It's either a winning season or a pretty awful season with the Indians here, when you think about it. But, I mean, maybe Swisher Sweet can get a nice roll going, get us off to a good start. And, I mean, since What's-His-Face took over, Terry Francona, it's been a different environment for the Indians, a different team. I mean, they have confidence. What's-His-Face? I don't even remember the last coach's name. That's how important he was to me. But, I mean, it just looked like they were just out there hanging out every game. And I really hope we can keep a hold of some players because I think this team is good. But I know the Indians' game is trading away good players for future good players. And, we're right on that line where we got to pay a couple players or trade them away. And I think the smart choice is to pay those players. I mean, you don't see Boston trading away their good players. I mean, Pedroia's still there. Big Papi's still there. I mean, the people that really own that team are still there. And I hope that Francona can influence the office of the Indians to keep it going in that direction and, really, keep that team on the right path. Because, I mean, I don't know. The Clippers weren't that good last year from what I remember. And I don't think the pool is all that great anymore after we traded away everybody for the one pitcher that we have now. What's-His-Face from Colorado?
Oh, Ubaldo Jimenez.
Yeah, Ubaldo Jimenez. Yeah, that's his name. But, I mean, other than that, I think the Indians will have a decent year. It all comes down to can they compete with the Detroit and the Chicago White Sox. I mean, the Tigers will be a different team since Leland's going to be gone. So we'll see if they can keep their momentum and be the same team they've been for the past 8 years and, be good and control that that American League Central Division. But I don't know. I mean, to me, baseball, I follow it until NFL starts up, and then I kind of lose track because I'm, playing fantasy football, and that's obviously a little bit more important to me at the time. Unless the Indians make it to the playoffs, then I'm like, hey, Flynn, let's get together, have a beer, and watch the playoffs. But I don't know. I mean, as soon as I see the spring games, I'll probably get a little more excited. And I mean, I hear pitchers and catchers report, and I'm like, thank God spring's right around the corner.
Yeah.
I can't stand the snow and the cold anymore. And, I don't know. It'd be nice to go down there one year and watch spring training. I'll tell you that. That's got to be, a kid's dream, obviously, to see all their favorite players playing and all that. But I don't know. I mean, for me, it is what it is. I'll wait and see what the final product is that's put out on the field. We'll go from there. Hit a couple Clippers games up and check it out. But, that's all we have for you. Let us know if you guys enjoyed the show. We don't know what we're going to talk about next time, but I'm sure it'll be something interesting that you'll like if you're a sports fan.
Yeah, check us out. NKO Sports on Twitter.
NKO Sports on Facebook. Or you can catch it on the NKO Sports section on the nerdco.com, nerdko.com. I'm your host, Sleazy, and with my co-host, Flynn, we thank you for tuning in. Have a great one, and we'll see you later.